Nobody expected a simple celebration to turn into one of the most chaotic and unforgettable Jungkook and Seokjin moments ever caught on camera. What started as playful teasing suddenly spiraled out of control the second Jungkook reached for Seokjin's side, making him completely lose composure in front of everyone. Seokjin tried to fight back, yelling, laughing, and desperately pushing Jungkook away, while Jungkook looked way too entertained by the entire situation. But the craziest part wasn't the screaming or the chaos. It was the exact moment Seokjin finally gave up and let Jungkook do whatever he wanted, smiling like he secretly enjoyed every second of it. And now fans can't stop replaying those 5 seconds that somehow revealed everything about their relationship without either of them saying a single word. The internet was never supposed to see that side of them. At first, the room looked calm, elegant, almost too polished for the chaos that was about to happen. The soft lights reflected against a glass table, the celebration cake sat perfectly untouched in the center, and both Jungkook and Seokjin looked like they had stepped straight out of a luxury photo shoot. Nobody watching could have predicted that only seconds later, the entire atmosphere would completely collapse into laughter, panic, and the kind of chemistry fans spend years trying to explain. It started with one tiny movement that almost everyone missed the first time. Jungkook leaned closer with that dangerous smile that usually meant trouble was coming, while Seokjin immediately looked suspicious before anything had even happened. Somehow, Seokjin already knew exactly where this was going, and that alone made the tension feel strangely personal. Fans noticed how quickly his composure disappeared the moment Jungkook's hand moved toward his side, as if this was not the first time Jungkook had discovered Seokjin's biggest weakness. Then everything exploded. The elegant atmosphere vanished instantly as Seokjin completely broke down trying to escape Jungkook's teasing. His reactions became louder, messier, more uncontrollable with every second, while Jungkook looked almost addicted to the chaos he was creating. The harder Seokjin tried to protect himself, the more entertained Jungkook became, and somehow that only made the moment feel even more intimate to the millions of people watching. But what truly sent fans into emotional collapse was not the teasing itself. It was the look on Jungkook's face. There was something terrifyingly soft hidden underneath all the laughter, something impossible to fake. The kind of comfort that only exists between two people who know each other too well. Even while causing complete chaos, Jungkook never looked careless. Every movement felt familiar, natural, almost instinctive, while Seokjin slowly stopped resisting despite acting completely offended only seconds earlier. And suddenly, the energy changed. Somewhere in the middle of the screaming and laughing, Seokjin's expression shifted into something softer, quieter, almost accepting defeat in the most dangerous way possible. Fans immediately noticed how he slowly gave up trying to escape, leaning back while Jungkook continued laughing beside him like he had already won before the game even started. Those 5 seconds became impossible to forget. Not because they were dramatic, not because they were loud, but because they accidentally exposed the strange emotional gravity between them that nobody can ever fully explain. The clip spread across every platform within hours. Fans replayed it frame by frame, analyzing every smile, every reaction, every tiny detail hidden inside the chaos. Some people focused on how naturally Jungkook invaded Seokjin's personal space without hesitation. Others became obsessed with how quickly Seokjin melted from resistance into helpless laughter the moment Jungkook refused to stop. And somehow, the more people watched it, the more emotional it became. Because underneath the teasing was something deeply human. A level of trust that cannot be forced for cameras. The kind of connection that reveals itself in careless moments when nobody is trying to create a viral scene. That is exactly why the internet could not let it go. The clip did not feel staged or planned. It felt real in the most dangerous possible way. Even fans who usually stayed quiet admitted there was something almost cinematic about the entire interaction. The luxurious background, the dim lights, the uncontrollable laughter, the way Seokjin looked completely overwhelmed while Jungkook kept smiling beside him like chaos was his favorite language. Everything about it felt unreal. And the strangest part was how quickly the moment ended. 1 second the room was collapsing into chaos, and the next, Both of them looked almost breathless from laughing too hard, sitting beside each other as if nothing had happened. But by then, it was already too late. The internet had captured those 5 seconds forever. Now fans are calling it one of the most dangerously revealing Jungkook and Seokjin moments ever recorded. Not because of what they said, but because of everything they didn't need to say at all. Nobody realized the moment would become even more dangerous after the laughter faded. Because once the chaos settled down, something unexpectedly quiet appeared between them. The room was still filled with soft noise, decorations, and celebration energy, yet fans could not stop focusing on the strange calm that suddenly surrounded Jungkook and Seokjin afterward. It was almost unsettling how naturally they returned to sitting beside each other, as if moments like that happened all the time when cameras were not around. And that thought alone drove the internet insane. People began noticing details they had completely missed during the first watch. The way Jungkook instinctively leaned towards Seokjin even after the teasing ended. The way Seokjin looked exhausted from laughing too hard, yet never truly moved away from him. Every tiny movement started feeling heavier the more fans analyzed it. Because chemistry like that cannot be edited into existence. What made the clip explode emotionally was how unguarded both of them looked. Usually idols know exactly when cameras are watching, when to react, when to stay composed, when to maintain distance. But this moment felt different. Too spontaneous. Too careless. Too real. Especially Seokjin. Fans could not stop talking about the exact second his resistance completely disappeared. At first, he looked determined to survive Jungkook's relentless teasing, trying to protect himself while laughing uncontrollably. But eventually something shifted in his expression, almost like he realized escaping was impossible and simply surrendered to the chaos beside him. That single change became the most replayed part of the entire clip. Not because it was dramatic, but because it looked weirdly affectionate in the middle of absolute disaster. Meanwhile, Jungkook looked happier the more Seokjin lost control, and fans immediately connected it to something much deeper than playful teasing. There was an undeniable comfort in the way Jungkook pushed boundaries without fear. Fully confident Seokjin would never truly be upset with him. That level of ease only exists when two people have built years of trust behind closed doors. And suddenly old memories started resurfacing everywhere. Fans began bringing back countless moments where Jungkook seemed completely obsessed with making Seokjin laugh, no matter the situation. Old clips reappeared overnight. Tiny interactions people once ignored suddenly felt suspiciously meaningful after this incident. The internet slowly created an entire emotional timeline connecting years of chaotic behavior into one overwhelming conclusion nobody could stop thinking about. Maybe this was never just random teasing. Maybe this was simply how they communicated with each other when words were unnecessary. That theory alone pushed the clip into another level of virality. Because the more people watched, the less the moment looked like ordinary chaos. Underneath the screaming and uncontrollable laughter was something strangely intimate. Two people completely comfortable destroying each other's composure, while still feeling emotionally safe. And then fans noticed something even more heartbreaking. Right before the clip ended, Seokjin looked at Jungkook for a brief second with an expression nobody could fully explain. It lasted barely long enough to capture clearly, but it was enough to send millions of viewers spiraling emotionally. Some described it as fondness. Others called it exhaustion, mixed with affection. But almost everyone agreed it looked terrifyingly genuine. That tiny glance changed everything. Because suddenly the moment no longer felt funny alone. It felt personal. The internet became flooded with emotional edits slowing down every frame, zooming into every reaction, every smile, every accidental touch. Soft music was added. Emotional captions appeared everywhere. Fans who originally clicked expecting harmless chaos ended up emotionally devastated instead. And the strangest part was how unaware Jungkook and Seokjin seemed about the effect they had created. To them, it probably lasted only seconds. To the internet, it became one of the most emotionally loaded interactions of the year. Even people outside the fandom started watching the clip out of curiosity after seeing how violently fans reacted online. Many expected exaggerated hype, only to end up confused by how magnetic the energy between them actually felt. There was something impossible to ignore about the way they naturally pulled each other into chaos, while still looking completely at home beside one another. That is why the moment refused to disappear. Days later, fans were still replaying the same 5 seconds, trying to understand why it felt so different from ordinary playful interactions. Why it felt heavier, softer, almost vulnerable underneath the chaos. And maybe the answer was hidden in the simplest detail of all. Neither of them looked like they were performing. For one accidental moment, the cameras stopped matching, and the entire internet noticed immediately. What nobody expected was how the moment kept getting more emotional the longer people watched it. Usually viral clips disappear after a few hours, replaced by newer chaos, newer headlines, newer edits flooding social media every minute. But this interaction refused to die. In fact, it became even bigger overnight. Millions of people who originally laughed at the teasing suddenly found themselves rewatching the clip alone at 2 a.m., trying to understand why those few seconds felt strangely painful in the best possible way. And slowly, fans started realizing something terrifying. The chaos was never the main reason people could not look away. It was the silence hidden underneath it. That pause became legendary almost instantly. Fans described it as the exact second the playful teasing accidentally exposed years of trust, familiarity, and emotional closeness that cameras normally fail to capture. There was no awkwardness, no hesitation, no careful distance. Just two people collapsing into each other's energies so naturally that it almost felt invasive for the internet to witness. And somehow, that made the clip even more addictive. Because people are used to seeing perfect idle moments carefully controlled for the public. Perfect smiles. Perfect reactions. Perfect fan service designed to disappear emotionally after a few seconds. But this felt messy in a way perfection never could. Their laughter looked uncontrollable. Their reactions looked genuine. Even the chaos itself felt deeply personal, like viewers had accidentally witnessed something they were never supposed to see. Especially Jungkook. The more fans analyzed the footage, the more they noticed how differently he behaved around Seokjin compared to almost everyone else. There was an unusual boldness in the way he invaded Seokjin's space without fear, completely confident that the older man would eventually melt into laughter no matter how dramatic his protests became. That confidence spoke louder than words ever could. It suggested history, comfort, years of invisible moments that happened long before cameras captured this one. And suddenly the internet became obsessed with uncovering every hidden layer behind their dynamic. Old interviews resurfaced. Ancient concert clips started trending again. Fans stitched together years of tiny interactions that previously seemed meaningless until now. Moments where Jungkook subconsciously gravitated towards Seokjin in crowded rooms. Times Seokjin looked visibly softer whenever Jungkook was nearby. Little habits no one questioned before suddenly became impossible to ignore. The deeper people looked, the more emotional everything became. Because this was no longer just about one chaotic interaction. It became about realizing how many quiet moments existed underneath the surface all along. That realization hit fans harder than anyone expected. Some admitted the clip genuinely made them emotional because it reminded them how rare it is to witness real comfort between people in such public environments. Others said the interaction felt strangely nostalgic, almost bittersweet, like watching two people communicate in a language built entirely from years of shared history and instinctive understanding. And perhaps that is exactly why the moment exploded beyond the fandom itself. Even casual viewers could feel something authentic hidden inside the chaos. You did not need context. You did not need years of knowledge. The emotional gravity was visible immediately. That is what made the clip dangerous. Because authenticity spreads faster than anything else online. Within days, emotional edits flooded every platform imaginable. Slow motion clips, cinematic music, captions describing the interaction as 5 seconds that explained their entire relationship. Some edits focused on Seokjin finally surrendering to laughter. Others zoomed into Jungkook's expression, pointing out how unbelievably soft he looked while watching Seokjin completely lose composure. And every single edit somehow made the moment hurt even more emotionally. Fans began saying the interaction felt like watching two people forget the world existed for a second. A tiny accidental moment where status, cameras, schedules, expectations, all of it disappeared beneath pure instinctive comfort. That idea terrified people emotionally because moments like that cannot be scripted. No matter how polished celebrities become, there are still rare seconds where genuine emotion slips through before anyone realizes it happened. And, according to fans, this clip captured exactly one of those moments. Even now, people continue discovering new details hidden inside the chaos. The way Seokjin instinctively leaned closer despite trying to escape. The way Jungkook immediately watched Seokjin's reaction before laughing himself. The way both of them seemed completely unaware that millions of people would later study every frame searching for meaning. And maybe that is the most heartbreaking part of all. To Jungkook and Seokjin, it was probably nothing more than another playful moment lost inside a long, exhausting day. But to everyone watching, it became proof of something impossible to fake. A connection so natural that even 5 chaotic seconds were enough to melt the entire internet forever.